Alright guys, so this is another Patreon request, and this one comes from my good friend Jason Voorhees 2011, who asked me a pretty interesting request. So before we go into it, as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. But other than that, let's get started with this video. So as you guys can see, this is Acts of Vengeance, Marvel versus the Multiverse. So, if you guys don't know, Acts of Vengeance is one of my favorite Marvel events of all time. It's such a massive event. To put it in perspective, when they collected it in trades, it literally took 3 over 500-page trades to cover the entire event. It was an event that lasted and it was so simple too. The whole thing of it was different here, like Loki brought together Magneto, Kingpin, Doctor Doom, Red Skull, and a few other the Mandarin and a few other villains, and we're like, okay, we're gonna get all our villains and we're gonna have them fight our heroes. So, Grey Gargoyle, you go fight Hulk. Camestro and Wrecker, you're gonna go fight Iron Man. Tiger Shark, you're gonna go fight Wolverine. It was stuff like that. It's one of my favorite events, albeit it also is the Cosmic Spider-Man storyline, which, having finally read the entire Cosmic Spider-Man story from Acts of Vengeance, holy shit was it a slog, because it's very clear that Spider-Man had like 7 titles in the 90s, but it was very fucking clear no one was on the same fucking page. Anyway, but as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon, I already talked about that, sorry. So, Marvel versus Multiverse. This is going to be a little different. So, in this, this is going to be not the Marvel superheroes taking on not villains from the multiverse, at least not Marvel villains. We're talking like characters outside of comics. So, in this story, what happens is that Mephisto has kind of just been chilling in hell. He's just been kind of like, brooding in hell, and he's been looking at all of these like past failures from heroes, and he's like, you know what, fuck this shit. And he realizes the problem is it's not that, and he thinks back to like when Loki pulled the Axe of Vengeance ages ago. In here, he has this wonderful idea that rather than having villains from their own universe, why not pull from villains outside of our universe? There's a ton of villains out there who will more than be willing to... there are tons of villains from out in the multiverse for me to just pull together. So that's what happens, is that Mephisto channels a shit ton of his power to he basically is like, I can't do this alone, I need help real quick to do this. Because it's a 2-part plan. Essentially, he uses his power to contact Bill Cipher. And Bill is like, Mephisto, buddy, what's going on, you red-faced son of a bitch? And Mephisto's like, look, Bill, I need your help. I want to get rid of the heroes of my universe, but I know that the heroes of the villains of my universe are shit. They literally can't win. So, I need you to help pick out some of the best villains you can find throughout the multiverse and send them at the superheroes. And he's like, cool beans, but there's got to be something you help me with first. See, we can't have your villains get in the way. So what happens is that one day the Avengers are like fighting the Wrecking Crew, and then out of nowhere the Wrecking Crew's gone. And then they start hearing like news from other people from around the world that like Magneto's gone, Apocalypse is missing, Red Skull just up and vanished, Doctor Doom's gone. Even Annihilus has gone missing. Galactus is gone. Thanos has gone missing. And everyone's like, that's weird. What happened to all the villains? And Hawkeye is like, fuck it. Like, all the villains are gone. We can finally retire in peace. Like, maybe it was an act of God. And that's when Mephisto shows up. He's like, more like the act of the devil. And then Mephisto, because he can't keep his fucking trap shut, is like, ho-ho! I thought of the greatest plan ever. I'm going to have villains from the multiverse come to your Earth and fuck you up. And that's what happens. Bill Cipher literally opens up a whole-ass gate, and villains from, like, Sailor Moon, Star Versus, Gravity Falls, Dragon Ball Z, all of these villains come spilling out onto Earth, and they are here for one reason: to fuck shit up. And that's what happens. And that's where we get our Acts of Vengeance, Marvel versus Multiverse. So yeah, Mephisto is then like inevitably but expectedly betrayed by Bill Cipher, who's like, you know, I said I needed all the villains gone, Fisty. Bye! And Mephisto's like, you son of a bit! Gets teleported out. Yeah. So now all these different villains are now running amok in the Marvel universe and the Marvel cosmos. So yeah, and different villains are picking and Bill basically is the guy behind all this. He's like more or less tells all the villains, look guys, go have fun. These superheroes are a bunch of schmucks. Go fuck shit up. And all the villains are like, fuck yeah, let's go. So yeah. Some villains take to the planet, to the outside worlds. Others go to the, take on the magical characters. All of that. And they spread like fucking wildfire. And that's basically, and all the heroes are now like battling villains from across the multiverse. So I thought of a few like hero-villain mashups for this video that I thought would be a lot of fun to like share with you guys. So yeah, much like the original Acts of Vengeance, this story is essentially like different villains and who they would be swapped against for, battling different heroes. So among them, like one of the first ones I thought of was Toffee and Wolverine. Yeah, Toffee and Wolverine go head to head, and you'd think Toffee wouldn't be a match, but remember, he can regenerate. He's also very smart and he's a warrior. So Toffee and Wolverine are pitted against one another, and Toffee admits that like, I've never really encountered someone like a warrior like you, and I hope that you make this interesting. And he's like, I don't think you mutants are bad. I don't, like, I've seen like your history. You guys aren't bad. You just want to survive. My people wanted to survive too. And he's like, oh good. And Logan's like, great, another Magneto. Only this one's a lizard. So that's one of them. Another matchup I thought of was like Maleficent taking on Doctor Strange. You had another one I had was Moon Knight. He goes head to head with Moon Knight goes. Who did I have him? Because I wanted to have a really good one. Moon Knight goes head to head with Roberta from Black Lagoon. She's a villain, guy. She's actually pretty bad. She's a bloody human being. So Roberta and Moon Knight go head to head. Then you have Shredder. Shredder takes on Psylocke. Like he goes after Psylocke from the X-Men. And Daredevil. Like Daredevil and Elektra and Psylocke all take on Shredder. Because the hand's gone, the foot's taken their place. In space, it's different. You have Krang taking on like the Guardians of the Galaxy. You have like fucking Frieza from Dragon Ball Z. He goes up against the Imperial Guard, because the idea of Frieza battling Gladiator is really fucking cool. I don't want to hear like Dragon Ball. I know like 30 Dragon Ball Z fans already typing away furious like, oh, Frieza could totally wipe the floor with Gladiator. Just enjoy the fight, guys. Just enjoy the thought of Frieza fighting Gladiator, one of the most powerful Marvel characters. As for others, you had Thor goes head to head with like he faces an invasion from the likes of the villains from Witch. You have Captain America, who is forced to fight the Major and the rest of Millennium. You have like Spider-Man. Spider-Man now has to deal with like. I actually wanted to have it because it is a reference to Marvel vs. Capcom. A full ass like fight between him and Nemesis. As for others, you'd have like Iron Man has to compete against has to compete with Heihachi Mishima. Yeah, and you think that's stupid. Iron Man would beat him. I'm not talking like full on fight. I'm talking like the Mishima Zaibatsu, who's now been plopped here, is now a business rival to Stark Industries, and and Heihachi is basically like beating Tony at his game and trying to absorb Stark Industries. Remember, that almost happened in Marvel continuity, where a Japanese company was going to take over Stark Industries, and it kind of did for a hot minute. As for so there's like just tons of villains who just spill out into this, and I just thought it would be a fun story where you just have all these fun mashups. And I really want to see in the comments below what like Marvel superheroes would you pit against different, like what villains would you pit from outside of comics, not like DC or Image or anything, but like what character, cartoon, anime, movie villains would you pit against Marvel superheroes? So please comment below, let me know. Once again, I'd like to thank my good friend Jason Voorhees 2011 for this video. This was a lot of fun to do. And once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.